Housekeeping. So there's more of those standard YouTube features that have been unlocked to me without my having to upload my face or my government ID like they're really trying to make people do, both users and creators, just in so many territories throughout the world. This shit is not gonna I don't know why they keep doing this between YouTube and the other apps, but it's not going to stand for long. People don't want this. We don't want this. I'm just a little surprised because even though this account is almost a year old, I didn't start posting on it until a month ago. And at that point, I remember when I was trying to do certain shit, they were like, you need like 2 months of consistent activity to get clickable links in description and all kind of nonsense that should just be available to you anyways. But, I'm only a month deep, and I think y'all watching and commenting accelerated it. Like, no, like I'm serious because they were saying 2 months and I was like, okay, we're going. And it seems like nothing's happening. Then all of a sudden, I noticed that my timestamps were actually they were registering as chapters when they weren't before. I'm able to pin comments when I wasn't before. Links are clickable on desktop and on mobile when they weren't before. So just thank you to everyone who's tuned in so far. It's fun. I have bigger things in store too, but I'm having so much fun trying to stay consistent with this thing because I'm always having stuff swirling in my head. And if I'm not writing blog posts and mini essays about it, then it's just I'm ranting to my sister or my best friends about this stuff. And it's just fun to have another way to get all this stuff out. I think part of what has influenced me, aside from all of the other podcast or radio influences I've discussed in some of the earlier videos, is I forgot I had a professor last year when I was taking literary theory. And I remember, in school and a lot of settings like that, if you're doing a big project that's guided by an instructor, they'll often scaffold it. So, okay, we're going to do step one this week, and then step two is next week, etc. So, we're doing that with a paper, right? And we had to just keep synthesizing information. Y'all know what papers are. It was just a very dense paper, and the different steps. I remember at one point we had to create a PowerPoint that had all of the paper information in it. It was just really interesting. But what's significant about that is the fact that the instructor, half the time, his feedback would be like this. He would just have his phone or whatever. He probably had like a fucking lapel mic or an iPhone mic. And you could hear his animals like shuffling around in the background. And then he's just laid up freaking chatting like you're a friend and saying, yeah, I think you did well with uh, the Judith Butler paper, but I think you should incorporate more of this person in here too. And like that kind of shit, it's just fun. So, and of course, there was a transcript for people who, were not able to listen. But I think it's fun and important to learn different ways to play with ideas and keep revisiting ideas because it just helps you. Like the purpose of doing papers, of doing like video essays, of doing like this kind of, and these are not video essays to be clear, but just any of things of this nature is to just learn more about yourself, um, try to get other people to learn about themselves through you examining shit that you like. So, anyway, enough prattling on about that. The other part is that I've started my new classes. I'm in a poetry workshop this term, and I anticipate it being a lot more fulfilling than the screenwriting course that I fucking suffered through twice and didn't finish. Just screenwriting ain't for me. It's not for me. I love dissecting. scripts and plays and things of that nature. I like writing short stories, but as far as writing narrative in that format, my brain can't do it. I can't do it. um, but another thing that school has allowed me to do, besides, get better at articulating myself, is because I'm a humanities major and the way that my aid works and everything, I was able to upgrade some of these creative tools I use, including obviously like nice notebooks and paper, um, a computer, a better computer than the Lenovo I had from years ago that had a fucking i3 i3 Intel this thing. I'm not an actual tech person, but it was very weak. Um, and another thing it allowed me to upgrade was my digital piano. So I think I may have mentioned it in other videos, but I have been playing music since 2003 officially, but I got my first instrument before I started official lessons. So if we're not counting literal baby pianos that we tinker on, the first thing I had was a synthesizer. It is the ConcertMate 980, and it's branded as Radio Shack because that's where my folks got it back in the day. Radio Shack is a defunct uh, electronics store. If you've seen the movie Nope and you've seen when they were in that store called Fry's Electronics, which is also defunct now, Radio Shack was very similar to that. Um, and I'm pretty sure it was just an American company. I don't know if Radio Shack was international. But basically, my synth it was a Casio, because if you listen to like the MIDI stuff that's on whatever fucking chip is in there, it sounds so similar to all these preset demo songs that are on other generations of Casios. But my shit literally said it has like Radio Shack etched into it. It's so funny. Um, but that was my first one. It was kind of like an arranger. It didn't have weighted keys. It only had 61 keys. Um, it had good polyphony as far as I could remember, but I wasn't really using it. The I basically learned piano on that thing until I was 14 years old. Now imagine having to go from that to going to weighted keys in lessons and your fingers is just weak. I feel like that influenced the way that I play, but that's not the point I want to get through to. Anyway, that model is like 25, 26 years old, right? Then when I was about 14, so what is that? Like 7 years into my journey of music, then I was gifted with a better Casio. It was a Privia PX130. I think those came out in like '08 or '09, but I didn't receive mine until 2010. And it did what I needed it to do. It had decent weighted keys. It had a 2-track recorder. I think it had like 10 or 15 different instruments that were basic in it, different instrument sounds. It had enough polyphony for what I needed at the time as an intermediate student playing classical and, playing more by ear, all this. But still, it's Casio. And not to drag Casio too much, but just, they do a certain thing and then eventually you need to graduate to something else. Because even the higher end Casios I've looked at, I'd be hearing the piano sample it uses, and I'm like, I'm not trying to drag y'all if you use Casio, but it's just it doesn't fit with my aesthetic at this time. And I know growing up, I always dreamed of having a fucking Roland of any kind. But I know those are expensive. I didn't imagine ever being able to own one until, well into adulthood. And I guess it is kind of well into adulthood because 10, let's see, no, 14 years after I got the Casio, the weighted one, then my school allowed me to get a Roland. And this was like a sub grand as in like money, sub grand Roland that has weighted keys. It has like a fake ivory pattern on there. It's a ranger functionality. It's a little bit of workstation functionality, and it really felt like my dream instrument. It has a fucking vocoder in there. Just oh my goodness, it was, and it has a screen because the intermediate Casio did not have a screen because for some reason I was like, oh well, I'm never gonna get a upright or a grand piano, so I want a digital piano that doesn't just look like I don't fucking know, like a synthesizer. I won't even get into all that. But basically all of that combined with me watching this video about the latest model of the Omnichord, the Suzuki Omnichord instrument, just had me thinking about gear acquisition syndrome. And gear acquisition syndrome is just a funny name for the concept of musicians just buying too much shit that they don't need. Kind of the same thing as crafters when people talk about, oh, buying craft supplies and being a crafter are two different hobbies, that kind of thing. And just people trying to figure out what it is like, what is your vision? What is it? What is like the essentials to your practice and trying to just streamline that? Because it doesn't mean that you're supposed to, oh, if you have a big home studio, then you're inherently just being wasteful. Because no, but if you're someone like me, and I've done like the crafter thing where I've craft supplies are way easier to gather than fucking instruments you don't use. Pretty much every instrument I have, I use in some way, but I don't use all my craft supplies necessarily because, now I do because we're in this time and it's like, yo, you have virtually everything you need. You don't need any more fucking craft supplies and you don't have money for any more. But yeah, I just basically with thinking of the gear acquisition syndrome and my journey through finding the right keyboard for me, I'm just really happy because I looked at what I had, what I value as a musician, what my goals are, and it just, I really like my instrument. My model, by the way, is the Roland FPE50. And if you go on my blog, you may have heard me, you may have seen I've done like these little multimedia zines where you can click QR code and then it leads to audio of the sheet music that I put in my zines. Just little interesting shit like that. That's fun to do with my Roland. And the thing that really solidified that it was the best thing for me, that type of machine, is listening to demos from some of my favorite musicians and then hearing that the demos sound very similar to the instruments and shit that I be doing playing around with this Roland. It's like, wow, I really am like some of my faves. They were in the same position as me, 20s, 30s, just trying to paint an artistic profile. Oh Lord, I was gonna give y'all like a whole history of the omnichord and shit, but I we've been talking about music enough. I wanted to transition to the next part, which is on the topic of like art, um, trying to find a vision and just reckoning with art versus commerce and all this stuff. I saw the FD Signifier Sinners video. I saw Sinners when it came out. I saw it not opening weekend, but the week after when it was playing in the States. Um, Sinners was fucking special. It is special. One of my best friends, who's a black British filmmaker, she was at the fucking premiere and she's gonna be all giddy when she hears me shouting her out like this. I remember seeing a little buzz about Sinners before it came out, but I thought it was going to be a so-so movie. And then she happened to be at the premiere and then she was gushing. She's like, please, please go see it. Go see it. And when I saw it, and then I was weeping in the car and sending all these crazy audio messages to her about it, it's a fucking moment. Um, and FD Signifier was talking about how Sinner's convo is kind of twofold. It's the fact that it had something for everybody. He described a little bit about what he got out of it personally. My thoughts on it can kind of be summed up as it was such a love letter to Pan Africanism. Um, it gave me From Dusk Till Dawn vibes immediately, because From Dusk Till Dawn is one of my favorite vampire movies and favorite like horror movies of all time. And that wasn't something that, like, somebody had to tell me. I just got that right away. I'm the kind of person, almost 10 years prior to me seeing Sinners, I was trying to get tickets for some anniversary showing of From Dusk Till Dawn. Um, but yeah, it's Pan Africanism, From Dusk Till Dawn, and also you must choose your own religion is kind of a thesis that I saw of it. Choose your own religion slash lack thereof, meaning religion doesn't necessarily have to do with the church. It means the thing that fucking drives you, religion, spirituality, and just FD's weaving in and out of those concepts in his analysis of the movie was really fun. And then his other part of the convo being twofold. Like the first part was Sinners had something for everybody. And the second part was discussing the nature of like art, commerce, transformative work. I know he had been wrestling with the idea like, does this need a video? And me personally, I remember thinking and still think, does this need fanfic? I'm not talking about edits and everything, because that's one thing, but like a lot of the fanfic I was seeing people write, it just felt so, you know, it wasn't gelling with me. There's so many, like, and I'm not someone who thinks, oh, fanfic only applies to shitty media. Like, it's only when something is lacking that it makes it valid or useful to write fanfic. No, and that's another conversation. I just felt like it was just, what else can you say about this kind of thing? But then FD, when he re-examined it, he's like, well, no, it's not that I need to go and like do a freaking plot regurgitation, this thing, but trying to reckon with what this means in like a meta context for the greater landscape of Black art. It's a really good. I could never do all his points justice. You should definitely check out his video. Try to see it before the YouTube freaking police go and take it down for copyright again. Um, but yeah, it's a really, really important conversation. Um, and the whole thing of like shifting media landscapes from FD kind of segues into my final topic, which was about North American episodic TV. And this was sparked by a video I saw from Vera Wild slash Council of Geeks a few days ago, where she just talked about how you don't see a whole lot of new episodic shows anymore. Because, yes, we know Abbott Elementary and we know stuff like 911 and then like the police procedurals, that's still thriving. But like Abbott Elementary versus stuff like Always Sunny that's been on for 20 fucking years, we're not getting the same boom. It's not the sitcom era anymore, at least over here. I know internationally things are a different story. Um, but her discussion really resonated with me because I'm someone at almost 30. I've been bitching about everything trying to be like Avatar, The Last Airbender. Um, it's like the idea of listening to an album versus a single. Not that albums are inherently bad, not that having a body of work like a longer narrative is bad, but sometimes you want to hear a few singles. And like Vera said, she said something to the effect of, I miss being able to put shows on shuffle. because a lot of my favorite TV shows, like those kid sitcoms, the kidcoms from like the 2000s, 2010s, and the 90s, those you could just throw on any episode and you're not lost. Some of my favorite classic shows like Cheers, My Two Dads, Perfect Strangers, Jeffersons, Good Times, any of these things, you can just throw on any episode. And unless it's a two-parter, you're going to know what the hell is going on. Um, and I, it's just annoying that so many things, especially cartoons, think that they have to be like anime or whatever. It's just like it's not in an inferior form of storytelling to be episodic. And I remember I had wanted to print out something talking about serialized stories, because it was making me think of how this concept translates to my affinity for short stories and novels that feel like they're told in vignettes, like the Fudge series and a lot of Judy Blume's writing, like an Armistead Maupin and Tales of the City, things of this nature. It's just, it's interesting seeing how these things change, and you have to really reckon with, are we just holding on to it for nostalgia, or is something being lost when these things are getting pushed aside for every freaking show has to be like an 8 episode limited series? And somebody else was saying in Vera Wild's comments, in Council of Geeks comments, I low key miss when TV wasn't trying to be mini movies all the time. Oh my gosh. But we're in a really, as much gripes as we have about this shit, we still are in such an amazing time because there's more stuff out here than we could ever hope to watch. We cannot watch everything. So, because we cannot watch everything, that leads me into my resource Rex. We gotta get in the spirit. Spooky season is almost over. Halloween is Friday. And apparently, I have plans because my family told me that they're taking me out to dinner. I didn't know that we were doing anything. Not that they were gonna ignore me, but I was just like, yo, like, I don't, it, stuff is tight around here. I thought we was just gonna stay in and watch movie, but now I gotta figure out some kind of like Erica Badu head wrap, festive witchy thing to do because I freaking cut all my hair off again. That's another story. But my resource Rex, actually, um, Scary Godmother, the '03 and the '05 ones, those are, it's interesting because those have always felt like specials to me, even though they're technically like mini movies, they feel like specials. So you have Scary Godmother, The Lost Boys from 1987. It's been a tradition of mine and my sister to watch The Lost Boys around Halloween pretty much every year since I first showed it to her. I don't remember if we did it last year. We may have, but I know we definitely need to do it this year. Another one is Tales from the Crypt. I'm 99% sure there's probably still episodes on YouTube. I have very, very fond memories of having this really shitty Android tablet in high school, and I used to soak in the tub, and I would prop my tablet up on like a pile of clothes on the floor or something, and then just have a whole bunch of episodes of Tales from the Crypt ready to go. I don't, could you queue stuff back then? I don't even remember. This is around like 2012, 2011. But if you need a specific episode, What's Cooking? I don't remember which season, but check out the episode What's Cooking. As you can probably infer, it does deal with cannibalism, but that's not a spoiler. Just, it's a fun episode. Check it out. Um, Another rec is Remote Control, the novella by Nnedi Okorafor. It's an African futurist uh, story. Just check it out. I had to read it for uh, popular fiction class last year, I think, and I had a blast because as someone with Igbo heritage and West African heritage and who's gotten to visit the motherland, thank God. And being a geek too, I had a lot of fun dissecting it. But that's not to say that it's not a story for everyone, but it just really resonated with me on that level. And then finally, Scream 4, or as I've taken to calling it for ages because of Chris Stuckman, Scriforum. In my opinion, the Scream story ended there. I've not watched any of the things that came after it because that saga was my childhood. Literally, the first four Scream films coincide with the first 15 years of my life. But yeah, if you haven't seen it, I say see it. And I feel like you could low key even just watch it, even if you haven't seen the other movies. Um, I'm really happy with how everything wrapped up today. I really, really appreciate everyone who continues to listen, comment, and just, give me positivity on this thing. I really, really love this project. It's gratifying to just do something like this and stick to a schedule more or less and have people along for the ride with me. Y'all have a fantastic Halloween season. I'm going to see you in the next one.